everybody, it's Romania Black, and it's been a while since I've talked about Attack on Titan. Not that long, actually. No, it's been like a month. It's been about a month and a half. I've been doing other shows for the channel, but I have found some time this weekend and thought, hey, remember how I'm going to go through the manga before part 3 comes out? So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start, actually. I have had the first several volumes rented out through, I do like Kindle Unlimited, so I've had it on my Amazon account through that to read, and I've had them saved like since over the summer, and I just haven't gotten to them yet. So I want to say first and foremost, this is kind of a weird thing, because in November, I know they're going to announce when season 4 part 3 is coming out. I don't think it's January. I feel like I don't know, if it's January, I'm in trouble because that's going to be a lot of shows in January that are starting back up. My hope is that they're going to wait until Chainsaw Man, Vinland Saga, and some of these other series kind of like have their turn, especially since Vinland Saga is with Mappa. I figure that Mappa doesn't want to maybe get too many hands in the pot. So I'm thinking maybe like April Attack on Titan season 4 part 3 is going to come out. That'd be great. That gives me some time to prepare. That gives me some time to prepare. So I'm hoping it's going to be like March or April when the series final season comes out and they let Vinland Saga kind of run its course. But we'll see. But in the meantime, I do want to look at the manga. So I don't know a time frame, and that kind of is always a bad thing for me because I like to have a time frame to know how long I have to get through something. So my caveat with all this is do not expect Attack on Titan manga readings to be every week at the moment. It's going to be whenever I get time and I get to it and I want to do it. So, because I want to look at the manga and talk about it and have an enjoyable experience with it. And so I don't want to force myself to like rush through it. So until I get a deadline, and then I have no choice. So, but yeah, so right now we're just doing one volume at a time. I'm going to try this first volume out, see how long it takes me to go through it and talk to you all about it. And then if we didn't take that much time, I might do 2 volumes the next video. We'll see, right? We'll see. But I'm going to just do 1 volume for this video and then see what that feels like. But I'm really excited. People have told me that the manga is a little bit different than the anime. And I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm not going to do a traditional read through like I normally do because I've already seen the show. But I want to walk through it and talk about the artwork, talk about the symbolism, talk about things. It's going to be kind of like me reviewing this series for the second time, which is going to be fun because a lot of people have been like, once you go back and re-see things from a new context, everything makes more sense. So I thought it'd be fitting. There are 30 volumes, I think, leading up to part 3 of season 4. So that's 30 volumes for us to look at. I'm really excited. And maybe if this volume goes well, I might try 2 next time and just see how long that takes me. But there's going to be a link down below to the actual manga reaction because of copyright. And then we'll have a little discussion at the very end here to kind of bring everything all together, right? And to kind of go back through things. But I want to do like a first nice initial go through and then come back and talk to you all as I look through it a second time. All right. I'm pretty excited. 200 pages of Attack on Titan. They said the chapters were 50 pages each. So probably like 3 or 4 chapters. Kind of like, I know like with Seraph of the End, the chapters are a bit longer. So they only do like 3 or 4 chapters per volume, which is kind of how this is. So that seems about right. But I'm really excited. So we'll see, right? I had to wear my Survey Corps jacket today. I was like, let's do this and just see what ends up happening. So we are going to start the look at Attack on Titan Volume 1 by Hajime Isayama. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, wow, so this was already a lot different than the anime. I'm very interested. Yeah, so lots of filler in the anime, especially in episodes 2 and 3. Interesting. Now here's the thing. I say filler now, but we're only through the first 4 chapters. It may very well be something that this manga is doing so far is going back and redoing and doing like flashbacks after the fact, like the whole thing with Eren seeing Grisha in the syringe. That's a flashback that's treated later on. It's not actually treated chronologically like it is in the anime. So that was really cool, but man, no joke, what a nostalgia trip going back to the beginning and seeing this all from the start. And there's a couple things I was like, oh, Oh, this is interesting, especially as we're on season 4. Right? So, man, seeing Erwin from the start, like seeing him up close and not really knowing who he is, the fact that it was Moses being renamed after he was Braun in the manga, which now that it's Reiner Braun, that makes sense. We don't want to have too much confusion for us, right? This series is crazy enough as it is. But yeah, all just the nostalgia of, remember back when we were just fighting Titans? But like all the thematic elements are here. They're here in this first couple of chapters, and so it's really cool later on when they did the interview of Isayama, where he's like, yeah, I planned things out way in advance, and I don't know exactly all the details of how they'll unfold, but like my major plot points I already have set out. I like that, because then you kind of get to see how it evolves and sort of incorporates that later on, right? So the big first thing is like the shot of Eren waking up, right? And he saw Mikasa, but her hair was cut short and she had like the scarf on, said, "See you later, Eren." It's not like the anime where we get all the flashbacks the anime gives us of the symbolism, right? And that page comes right off of the thing like saying to the Titan, "Let's teach it the power of the human race." So if you're cutting to season 4, like way in the future, the idea that Eren is leading this giant mass of colossal titans and Armin and them are coming up to fight them. Armin and them are essentially the human race, showing these titans the power of them, right? Because the titans seem to be this overwhelming force that we've established can't be stopped no matter what. But Armin and his group are literally going to try to prove that wrong. And the fact that Mikasa with the short hair says, "See you later," I'm wondering, again, as I'm recording this, I've not seen season 4 part 3. So I'm probably going to be making a lot of assumptions and theories going into rereading the manga as it ties to the final season. So what I don't want is, don't tell me if I'm right or wrong. Let me figure out when we get to season 4 part 3. Or spoiler tag it so I won't read it, right? Which you all have been amazing about that so far in reading this series. But my theory is, reading this, is that I wonder if that dream Eren had from the beginning is going to be like the last thing he sees while he has the Titan powers, or before he dies or anything, is going to be, "See you later, Eren." And it's going to be like, or the last time he sees Mikasa is going to be that moment he just dreamed of. Because he's the attack Titan, right? So the attack Titan has the power to give its memories and go back in time, right? To give those memories back into the past. So from the future, Eren could have been seeing the last time he saw Mikasa in the future is in that shot that we see right there. If that's the last time Eren sees Mikasa, is her saying, "See you later, Eren," and then she has the scarf and the short hair and everything. I don't know. But he gets up and everything. And there's a little bit of Isayama in Eren at this point, because he said in the interview he like drools a lot, and Eren's like drooling a little bit under the tree. But like the leaves and everything blowing, and then him starting, he's like, "I had the longest dream and now I can't remember." And so the thing of it is, every time he's had like dreams and stuff, it's been the attack, like later on in season 3 into season 4, it's the attack Titan like going back and unlocking those memories for him, like with his father and everything else. So him crying in that moment, is it the fact that it's the last time he sees Mikasa? Is that why he's crying? Is he crying because it's the last time he'll see her? You know what they do in this manga? They do not make it so apparent that Eren is against Mikasa in the manga. In the anime, Eren is constantly like, "I don't need to be taken care of you by you, Mikasa. I don't need you to watch over me, Mikasa." And Eren makes a big deal about it. But here in the manga, it's not that apparent. I mean, she clearly is watching over him, and he gets kind of frustrated by that. But he's more frustrated in his own strength and ability than Mikasa watching over him. It's not Mikasa that bothers him. It's himself, right? Whereas the anime makes it almost seem like it's Mikasa that's the problem. So a lot of you have said going into this that Mikasa is a bit different in the manga than the anime, and Eren's treatment of her is a little bit different too. And I'm like, I'm already seeing that. So it's going to be interesting to go through the manga and see that develop, right? But man, Hana, seeing him again, that's so sad. And seeing how Eren's eyes, like they have the light in them at times, but then they're so cold other times. It's like, oh my God. And Eren just having that question of, are we just caged animals? And the shots of his eye, like throughout this volume, we get early glimpses of Eren with that fight, that shot of him just being like, being so forward and trying to fight. And it's, yeah, I may end up liking Eren more after reading the manga. I really like him a lot in this volume compared to the anime. So we'll see. But I liked Eren's character a lot more in the manga than I have in the anime just from this first volume alone. Because I'll be honest, Eren is not one of my favorite characters. And so seeing him in this manga, it's a bit different already. But yeah, Keith and saying we accomplished nothing. That whole deal. Yeah, just poor bystander Keith, right? And then Mikasa, again, dragging Eren away. The whole thing with the blood, total lie, total sham. Mikasa was forcefully throwing Eren around from chapter 1. So there we go, right? And him saying, have your feelings about the Survey Corps changed? She's like, have you seen like what ends up happening and you still want to be a part of them? The scene where they go home with Carla and Grisha, it's genius. Like connecting back and having Grisha not look directly at Eren when he shows him the key. Genius. I love it. But him asking Eren, why do you want to go outside? And it's all in bold. Why do you want to leave the cage? What's the point? And Eren's like, I hate the idea of spending my whole life inside the wall, ignorant of what's happening. And for Grisha, it's like that ties to him leaving with Faye. Like the reason why he left the wall was that he wanted to show her like that there was stuff outside. But Eren, for Grisha, it wasn't the fact. Grisha just wanted to explore the outside and show Faye something, that there was more to the world than that. But for Eren, it's the idea that he doesn't want to be ignorant. He wants to go outside and see the world. And he says if there's no one to carry on, everyone who died up until now will have died in vain. And that it's so funny in the craziest of ways because it ties to Eren's resolve and him being like, I've got to keep moving forward and fighting because if I don't, then everyone I've lost, their deaths will have been in vain. But at the same time, it's so frustrating because it's like, yeah, if there's no one else to carry on, it's just, it complicates everything. But that's the answer. Grisha's like, okay. And then he ends up leaving. But yeah, it's just, that's Eren's resolve in a nutshell. Like, I have to fight on for the people who've died and for the people I want to protect. It's like, everything's so complicated. But yeah, and then Eren looking at that key, right? And then I love that. So Mikasa from day 1, from chapter 1, Carla like gives Mikasa the task saying that Eren is foolhardy and help him so he doesn't get into trouble. And we see the one chapter that Mikasa's not with Eren, he ends up getting eaten, right? He ends up letting his emotions get a hold of him. And then we cut to Armin. Armin throughout this entire first volume has like the same light in his eyes, the same expressions. Like Armin from day 1 has pretty much been pretty consistent, as has Eren and Mikasa. So it's kind of cool to see that all tie together. But I love the way Isayama draws Armin in this. It's really, really good. Like from the start. From the start, the way that he draws Mikasa, Eren, and Armin is so like on the nose and very much like the anime. It's so cool. I love it. But yeah, Armin just wanting to break out and go see beyond the wall to see what's out there. Yeah, for Eren, it's more of a freedom. It's more of the state of his being that he has the freedom to do whatever he wants. And for Armin, it's actually that exploration and discovery and finding things. Eren, it's not so much that. It's just the sense of that freedom. Armin's the actual being able to do something about it. So, and then we get, what I like too about this is that Isayama really makes them seem like children. They really seem like little kids here. But yeah, just Eren. Eren's outfit has been the same since day 1. In the final season, he's got the black pullover and the shirt. Eren's fashion has not evolved since childhood. It has been the same. Eren is, if anything, constant, right? And then seeing Bertolt blue stealing it. It's great. Again, like I said in the reaction, I love that Isayama, he drops the name Titans in this, but throughout the entire volume, he just says them. It's almost like a foreshadowing of the Titans aren't what we think they are. They're just people like us. And then the one thing is they cut straight from Eren seeing the tragedy 5 years ago to them all like the night of graduation. So the whole thing with the potato, the whole thing with Keith, I'm assuming we're going to tie back to that, right? I'm assuming we're going to tie back to all of that. That all can't be filler. It can't be. So I'm guessing in volume 2, we're going to tie back to all of that. So we'll see. We shall see, right? We'll see what happens. Don't tell me. But yeah, and then Bertolt and Reiner. And yeah, if you didn't know, they do an amazing job of just having them show up and you have no clue who any of them are. Like Bertolt, you can't tell it's Bertolt at all. It's very... Reiner, I want to go back and see what Reiner looks like and seeing if it would have been noticeable. But yeah, Armin and them all running. And Armin being scared. Like establishing that Armin kind of freaks out and sort of freezes whenever he gets overwhelmed. But that Eren went back with Mikasa to find his mom. Oh. And then Dinah showing up. God, that's just... It's crazy, right? And then Hannes tried to stop Dinah. It didn't work. Dinah looks terrifying. The smiling Titan looks far more grotesque and terrifying than it does in the anime. And at this point, I was like, nope. I do like the subtle details that it shows Mikasa not being able to watch. Like, she's so scared. But Eren watched. He couldn't look away. Oh, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that Eren had to look. He had to keep looking. And again, that ties to Eren's character because even though he's facing, like Hannes has him slung over his shoulder, Eren can't look back. He always has to look forward. And in this case, looking forward means watching Dinah eat Carla. It's great. It's good stuff. And then him fighting Hannes, saying, if you hadn't been there, I would have saved my mom. Yeah, no, he wouldn't have. You would have died too. And I like the whole thing where Hannes tells him, he's like, you couldn't save your mom because you weren't strong enough. And I didn't face the Titan because I wasn't brave enough. Like, Hannes didn't say I couldn't save your mom. He says, I couldn't face the Titan because I wasn't brave enough. And so it's kind of a cool thing because in that moment, it's just justifying to Eren that he has to be strong in order to fight and save the people that he cares about. He has to become the strongest person possible. And in order for him to do that in this series, he has to go to Ymir. He has to go to the paths, and he has to do all these things until he is the strongest person, has the founding Titan powers and can use them. He can't save the people he cares about. And it starts from way back in chapter 2, right? And I like the idea of Hannes not being able to face like the Titan in yourself because you have to be brave to do that. There's that. But Mikasa has the headache, right? And Eren ends up having a headache too. So there's that tie-in. But Mikasa's headache seems to be like we don't get an explanation. We just get we get the idea that it's happened before, but that she's had a headache before, but she has this like throbbing headache. And I mean, you could explain it a number of different ways. It could be that you could say, well, it's because she's overwhelmed by emotions and that's causing the headache, or the fact that Eren's upset and that causes the headache, or there's lots of reasons, right? It's brought up, but I don't think it has to do with anything with the fact that she couldn't save Eren because Eren's not in danger when she gets the headache, right? He's not in danger. He's just upset. Interesting, right? Interesting. So we'll just pin that for now. But yeah, we cut through all the thing about Reiner and the Armor Titan getting that. I guess you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah, looking at Reiner's design, you can't really tell. He's all hunched over there. You can't really tell that it's Reiner. The hair kind of looks, you could make the assumption it was Thomas or anybody else with blonde hair, or Hannes. If you want to go that route, the point is it's not obvious that it's Reiner. So that's interesting. But I love the concept of Eren looking at his hand being like, why is this happening? Is it because humans are weak? And it's like, no, there's a big he's a kid at the time, so he doesn't know the complications of everything. But he says, is crying the only thing the weak can do? And then he gets like that look in his eye and gets all angry, right? Oh, is crying the only thing the weak can do? And he's like, yeah, Eren's so emotional. And then decides that he'll do whatever he can to not have to cry anymore. So yeah, we cut through all that. We cut through most of episode 3. I'm assuming maybe we'll come back to it. We get our top 10. I forget that Armin is not amongst the top 10. I forget that Connie outdid Armin. I remember everybody else, but I forget that Connie was in the top 10 and not Armin, which still blows my mind. I'm like, really? I mean, Sasha makes sense, but Armin. I was wondering too, because I was like, okay, so what is Armin going to do? And Eren's all like, I finally made it. the humans will devour the Titans. It's like, well, yeah. But I like that this manga addresses, like, what was Armin going to do other than being in the Survey Corps? Because I thought those were the only 3 options. But they established that he could be a technician. And I'd forgot that. I was like, oh yeah, Armin could have technically, there was like a side branch option that would keep him from the front lines. But that's not Armin's intent. And then seeing Marco and Jean together is like it's so wonderful, because Marco just looks like the most peachy keen saint, and Jean, I forget how much of a brat Jean was. Jean was such a brat and just saying things like they are. It's funny that he's Isayama's favorite character at this point in the story. It's funny that Jean is the favorite, but he's our king, so I mean, why not? And then Annie turning away when she says, I'm joining the military police, but I don't want anyone to think that I'm like you. And then Eren, of course, has to be like, you're just soft going to the interior police. And I didn't notice that Reiner like sneezes all over Armin. What a weird moment, right? But then they basically talk about the population getting sent out to recover the territory stolen, and most of them getting eaten. So I'm wondering if we'll go back to that as well, like when we touch base on Armin, because his grandpa was one of those people, if we're going to get anything with that. And then, God, the joke where John is like, you really think that we stand a chance against the Titans, and everybody's super quiet. And Jean's like, it looks like a funeral thanks to you, Eren. And I was like, too soon, too on the nose. Oh my God. But yeah, they end up just having a fist fight. And Eren saying that my dream is to exterminate the Titans and leave this cramped, walled up world and to explore the outside world. And Armin just like, but the thing of it is, his dream, it's so funny because, yeah, he wants to exterminate the Titans. He says he wants to exterminate the Titans and explore the outside world, which Armin's like all about. But then later on, by the time we get to season 4, that dream, that so-called dream, has evolved to being like, well, no, I don't want to destroy the Titans. I want to save my homeland where we are all capable of becoming Titans and destroy everyone else. And his whole thing is destroying the outside world instead of exploring it. And so it's like, damn. And I guess as we'll go, we'll talk about like how Eren's dream evolves and changes. And because that's essentially Armin's dream. And so how that changes, from what it was. And then they fight, which is great. And I love that moment where Jean is like, Eren, what's wrong? If you're having trouble against me, a mere human, you're not fit to go up against the Titans. And Eren says, of course not, you idiot. At that point, I was like, so we are establishing Eren's self-doubt and lack of self-worth from the start. Eren's so loud and abrasive that it's hard to see that. But in that moment, he's like, yeah, no, I can't face the Titans like I am. I'm not strong enough. That's the problem. But, he's kind of like with Armin, the more we learn, the more we can work together and get the job done. And then it's such a stark contrast from how that ends up in season 4. But also establishing that Eren was Eren or Mikasa, one of the two, according to Reiner, were the top of their class in terms of hand-to-hand combat, which makes sense when Eren beats the snot out of Armin. But yeah, and then Mikasa just lifts him up and takes him away. And I love he's like, put me down. He just flails. The flail is great. And he's like, put me down, Mikasa. And everybody's just laughing at him. Which, again, I think that Isayama projects quite a lot onto Eren, because everyone pointing and laughing at him, Eren's blushing a little bit. And Isayama said his biggest fear was the idea of middle school girls pointing and laughing at him and saying, ew. What do we do with that? But again, I like that Eren, again, being different than the anime, him and Mikasa, Eren doesn't say, oh, I don't need to be protected by you, Mikasa. He's just put me down. He's like, that hurt, damn it. And she's just like, you act impulsively when you get angry. Which again, yes, very much so. And it stays that way. But and her fashion kind of stays the same too from childhood, which is interesting. But he says, about what he said, which branch do you want to enlist in? So Eren doesn't argue with her. He doesn't say that he doesn't act impulsively when he gets angry. He just gets mad because it hurt her throwing him down. And he asks where she's going to go. And she says she's going to join the Survey Corps. And he said, well, you were at the top of our class. Apply for the MPs. He says you get special treatment. And she's like, no, wherever you go, I'll go. So Eren was trying to protect her. Eren, from the very beginning of this series, was trying to put distance between her and him because he knew he was doing something dangerous and he wanted to keep her out of it. Which is interesting because I feel like the anime doesn't quite... the anime gives off more of a vibe of Eren being constantly annoyed by Mikasa and that she's strong and that he just like isn't being a man and, you know, taking care of her. But the manga doesn't portray it that way. The manga shows that Eren doesn't want her to follow him because he's afraid she's going to get hurt, or that's what's implied, right? So that's very interesting. And he's like, I'm not asking you to stick with me. How long do you intend to keep at this? And she says, as long as we live. I died once and was restored to life. I won't forget that debt. And Eren's like just grabbing his head. So from this interaction, Eren's like, he wants her to stay away from him because he doesn't want her to get hurt. And he knows that the path he's going on is going to possibly lead him to die. Which is a nice bit of foreshadowing, right? So that's going to be interesting following their relationship in this. And the manga may make me appreciate Mikasa and Eren's ship a little bit more. I'm excited by that. It's definitely made me appreciate the Armin and Eren ship a lot more already. So there's that. And she's like, I don't want to lose any more family. And Eren just looks at her and he doesn't have like a response to that. She's like, more than anything, I don't want to lose any more family. And the thing of it is like Eren is family to Mikasa, but that doesn't mean it can't be romantic. You know, family can mean partners, it can mean spouses, it can mean lots of things, right? Family means that you're very, very close. And so then, Armin says he's going to join the Survey Corps. And Eren's just like, are you serious? That means you're... And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm weaker than the average person. And Eren like yells at him and says, the instructor said you could become a technician since you're academically at the top of the class. And he says, making an inefficient choice that disregards your strengths. I wouldn't call that courageous. So Eren calls Armin out on it and says, just you making this choice and not regarding your strength in the matter. He's like, that's not brave. And Armin's like, if I died, it wouldn't matter. So we're getting Armin's like self-sacrificial, like lack of self-worth set up just as well. But yeah, Eren, the idea that Eren didn't want either of them to get hurt from the start is set up here. It's just, of course, the irony of all ironies that what Eren does ends up getting them involved, right? And it's like, Eren, you should have seen from the start that Armin and Mikasa from the very beginning of this did not do as you said. Eren was trying to get them to do one specific thing to keep them safe. But here's the thing. We go to Erwin later on. He's like, as soon as other people start making decisions for you, you'll die. And so Eren trying to make a decision for Armin and Mikasa, saying, oh, you guys need to do this and do that. Armin and Mikasa saying no to what Eren's suggesting shouldn't be all that surprising because they want the same kind of freedom that Eren does. They want to be able to make their own choices and do their own things, regardless of what that results in. And so it's funny because Eren, in starting the rumbling and doing all of that, he's creating a cage of his own for the people that he cares about. He's encaging them by protecting them, by destroying the rest of the world, because now they can't leave. There's no outside world for them to explore or see. They're trapped on that island and wouldn't be able to do anything else. So it's a big ironic thing that Eren, in trying to give them freedom and trying to save them, is putting them in his own cage. That's very interesting, right? But yeah, then Hannes sees them and he's like, oh, you guys have grown up so much. And we get the idea that Eren has these headaches. Eren has the same kind of headaches whenever he tries to remember the trauma that Grisha did when he gave him the injection, right? That's so interesting. It turned him into a Titan. Very, very curious, right? That he starts having the same reaction. And Hannes is like, oh, I triggered his post-traumatic stress. So there you go. And then he wakes up in the bunks, in the dorms. So we don't get a lot of episode 2 and 3 from the anime in these initial chapters. So I'm thinking maybe we'll flash back to them later on in the manga. We'll see. But yeah, and then of course Eren saying like, what is this foolish crap? Marriage has turned you soft. It's like from the get-go, Eren was not going to be a lovey-dovey person. Eren is very much our shonen protagonist that does not have a love interest, but he's very forthright in saying that, right? And then we cut back to, it's interesting, I forget that Connie was inspired by Jean to not join the military police. It's interesting. He didn't want to join the military police because of John wanting to join. And then we see what their relationship ends up being. It's great. But yeah, the whole thing with Sasha and the meat. And Connie and Eren were the ones that mainly saw that whole scene. So it makes sense they're the ones that respond to it later. That's interesting. But yeah. And it's right after that scene where Eren's like, 5 years ago, the human race is taking back its dignity. We can win. Humanity's counterattack begins now. And then there's Bertolt. It's great. It's great. Yeah, the whole last chapter, it goes so good. It's very much similar to the whole Battle of Trost. It's great. Eren with this whole thing about destroying all the Titans. And we cut to everyone. Eren's eyes. His eyes are so similar to how they are later on in the series. It's great. And the whole thing, the 5 years with Bertolt's side eye. It's great. I love it. I just love it. But yeah, Isayama's artwork, it's so intriguing. And you can already see within a few chapters it evolving a little bit. So again, it's going to be really fun to see how it goes from here on in. But yeah. Oh my gosh. And then him like, now here's the one thing. This is the one thing. And I'm going to be interested in the manga, how they tackle this. But there's no skeleton of Bertolt in this chapter. No skeleton. No slowly dissolving Titan. No skeleton remains. It's just boom, it's gone. I feel like that is a little bit of a plot hole. But it's fine. I don't care. I'm not one of those people that like is contrary and like looks for plot holes and I'm like, this story's awful because of this plot hole. I mean, it's a story that spanned for 10 years. I'm going to give Isayama the benefit of the doubt. But I do think it's interesting that, yeah, Bertolt disappears. You could argue that he disappeared and then was a human and like made his way back into Trost. But it is noteworthy, right? That it is like that from the start here. And so then, yeah, they're talking about the hole and getting into Trost and Eren's like freaking out from the bell and everything. And then everything, like Armin panicking, Eren like calming Armin down. Just all these things that when you see the story later on, it's like, wow, going back to these early chapters, it's so fascinating. But yeah, then Dawes and everybody, like, we don't know that it's Dawes, but him being the one that's throwing up. And then here's the thing. So when Mikasa rallies to go run away, she sees Franz telling Hana that he's going to protect her. He's like, don't worry, I'll protect you. And she's like, oh, thank you. And so then Mikasa tells Eren, she's like, if the battle gets hairy, come find me. And he's like, what are you talking about? We're in different squads. And she's like, well, things can get chaotic and change. And she says, I'll protect you. And Eren's just like, what is this protection stuff about? But that's all he says, right? That's all he says. He's like, why do you want to protect me? He's like, what? Why would you do that? And then she like is trying to argue with the official about where to go. And Eren like headbutts her and says, humanity's on the brink of extinction. You're trying to dictate your own rules. Like, no, have faith in other people and their rules, right? Which is funny that Eren's saying that. And she says, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not thinking with a clear head. But she says, I have one thing to ask you, please. And she squeezes him and says, don't die. And does the whole thing to his, like the Sasagio to his chest. And Eren's like, well, no, I'm not going to die. I can't die here. He's like, we still haven't found anything outside the walls. Like it all goes over Eren's head that she's saying that because she likes him, right? And she doesn't want him to die. And Eren's just like, why would I die? Like it just goes all over Eren's head, which is funny, right? And then we cut back to the history class and Armin being excited by the prospect that they have a means of fighting back. They can be useful. And that moment of Eren like looking at him and grinning and talking about being promoted, and Armin's like, yeah, sure. Like I totally get the Armin Eren ship from that perspective. I was like, oh, okay. We're setting that up. That's fun. I get it. But then yeah, Eren and Thomas, they both decide that they're gonna see who can slay more Titans. And then Thomas instantly dies like three minutes in, right? But yeah, it's great. Like Eren's whole rage and everything, like this chapter 4, it was amazing. Just the movement of it, the shot of Eren's leg And then Armin just watching all of them get eaten as Armin just sits there and can't do anything. He's like, why won't my body move? And we even see the one Titan, right? So fascinating. And he's like, I have to watch my comrades be eaten. Why won't my body move? And it's so creepy when the Santa Claus Titan comes and picks him up and is like, he just looks over. Armin, it's so creepy. And then Eren, that shot of Armin showing him the book, and we see him like with his hands against, like looking up at the sky, and Eren just looking bored. And then knowing meanwhile what's happening with Reiner and all of them. And then Armin showing him everything, and just Eren looking up and seeing, like, that's just silly. And Armin's, his face, like the blush and everything. And Eren seeing just how amazed that Armin is at the prospect of the rest of the world. And Armin saying, someday I hope we get to explore the outside world. So it always begs the question, right, of when Eren said his dream back in there about wanting to see the outside world, like how much of it truly was Eren's dream and how much of it was him like just projecting that elation that Armin had gotten onto himself, right? Because Eren, his goal was never really to explore the outside world, right? He wanted freedom, but it was not equating to the same thing. So you wonder, reading these chapters, like how much of this was Armin projecting, right, onto Eren, and Eren projecting it back. But that shot of Eren with the angry eye and the blood coming down his face, it's so much like season 4. It's crazy, right? And then him reaching for Armin, grabbing Armin's hand and chucking him out of the Titan's mouth. And like how far we've come from these moments. And he's like, Armin, you told me about it, so I'm going to go see the outside world. And then that's when he gets his hand bitten off. And Mikasa turns back. So that was fun. First volume. Lots of things crazy. I don't want to know any manga spoilers, but we're going to look at volume 2 soon. Maybe volume 2 soon. I spent a good chunk on this, so I don't know if I'll read volumes 2 and 3. We'll see. Maybe I might just do one volume at a time. Just take my time with it. And then once we find out, I might just take my time with it for now and do one volume at a time, because there's a lot in each volume that I may want to talk about. And then as they announce when season 4 part 3 is going to come out, that'll help me figure out my pacing with the manga. So it will help me figure out that. So we shall see. But man, I'm curious to know your thoughts below. Please make it just thoughts about volume 1 of the manga or the anime. If it's about the anime, we can talk about it, but I don't want to know anything more about the volumes of manga to come, because I'm going to be reacting to them. But we can talk about this volume and then its relation to season 4 and the anime and all that fun stuff. So please no manga spoilers for the manga chapters that are going to be involved in season 4 part 3. Please no spoilers to those, but I'm excited to hear what y'all think. So in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon to talk about volume 2 of Attack on Titan manga. Bye.